Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Cube Learning's Trainer Nation Hospitality webinar. Sorry for the slight delay. There's a couple of technical issues getting online this morning, that we should be okay to go now. So just a quick introduction to myself. So I'm Elliot Roberts. I'm the Customer Engagement Manager at Cube Learning. I've worked for Cube for just over 4 years. Originally started as an account manager, and then after about 10 months with the company, moved into leading the account management team. Just about Cube, we're mainly an apprenticeship provider, but we do have some different arms to our armory, which I shall go through throughout the presentation. We're a grade 2 provider. We're established in the late 90s, so we're well established within the apprenticeship and training world in the UK, and cover a variety of different sectors. Some of the areas we look at as a business are Cube WorkFit, which are pre-employment courses, Traineeships, which is sort of a pre-apprenticeship program, as I touched on before, Apprenticeships, and we also have an e-learning platform called Cube Vision and a recruitment team called Cube Talent, who can help with apprenticeship recruitment or generic company recruitment. So we're a national provider, so we've got tutors. Our furthest is based down in Truro, and we have a tutor up in Newcastle. So we have tutors all employed by Cube, and they live in the breadth of the country and deliver a variety of different qualifications. Just recently, in Rate My Apprenticeships top 100 providers, we were voted in the top 10, which is a really sound achievement for Cube. Just having a look at some of the companies that trust us and we work with currently. What we'll focus on here is majority of our care companies. So within a lot, obviously within care homes and care services, there's a lot of hospitality that takes place, and ourselves, along with our partner provider PLG, who you'll be hearing from later, deliver these qualifications. There's a small piece there from Phil Parrish, who is one of our apprentices on programme currently. The next section of the webinar, we're going to look at traineeships and apprenticeships just as an overview. I understand a lot of people will be clear what these are, but for some people on the call, this might be a completely new thing to them and just need the basics of what a traineeship is and what an apprenticeship is. So a traineeship is a government-funded education and training program with a work placement. So this is looking at sort of somebody who maybe hasn't had a job before, who has very little experience in an area, who's not quite sure if it's right for them. So what a traineeship can do is give them that experience and that knowledge to see if that industry is right for them. A traineeship can take place between sort of 7 to 12 weeks. If after 2 weeks an employer decided that person's amazing, I really want to put them on an apprenticeship or full-time employment, great, we can stop the traineeship there. But we like to say if we can give it sort of 8 weeks, so the trainee and the employer get to get a feel for that person, the trainee gets a feel for the company to see if it's the right fit. We often see a successful traineeship leads into a long-term apprenticeship and a long-term career. So what are the benefits of a traineeship? You can beat the competition. So you can offer somebody something right at the start of their journey. So if somebody has little experience in the care industry, for instance, they're looking for a job in care, if you could offer an opportunity for a traineeship to see if they want to come and work for you, see if you're the right fit for them, you can beat that competition. You might be looking for somebody. It can also help with reduction in recruitment costs. So if you've got somebody ready-made who Cube or PLG have placed with you for a placement, and they become an experienced member of the team over the years, that might really help with your recruitment costs when future planning. And lastly, at the moment, there's a government incentive for trainees. So every trainee that's recruited, you can receive up to £1,000 for them. Apprenticeships. So what is an apprenticeship? It's a workplace learning program funded by the government, which is designed by sectors, delivered by specialist providers, and leads to a recognised qualification. So back in 2017, when the apprenticeship standards were launched, the onus was really put on companies to have a say on what is delivered within an apprenticeship. There was a number of trailblazers created for different qualifications, where providers and employers would write a qualification that is fit for purpose. So that is we've seen a real benefit to employers and learners since the new standards came in. So it's open to anybody at any age if they work more than 30 hours per week. That's 30 hours per week is a sort of a ballpark figure. If somebody does work less, they can still partake in apprenticeship, but there might be some more planning needed at the start of the program. It can also extend length for the program. But I think the key bit there is open to anybody and at any age. So if you have had a degree in hospitality, for instance, and then you've decided that you want to go into care, the fact you've got a degree in hospitality won't stop you from having it be able to access the apprenticeship levy funding or a government funded program to complete a lower level apprenticeship. So what does it involve? So there's 4 core elements to an apprenticeship. You've got skills, knowledge, behaviours, and then you've got your functional skills, English and maths. Obviously, functional skills, English and maths only has to be sat if you don't have a pre-qualification. What we'll do at the start is an initial assessment, which is sort of an English and maths assessment. It's not a test, there's no right or wrongs. It's so we can establish a starting point for you. Alongside that as well, we'll do a skills assessment, which will relate to the qualification. So the idea of the apprenticeship is that we're adding new knowledge and developing people. So if the skills assessment shows that you already know 80% of what's in that qualification, then you won't be eligible for it. But what we can do is recommend you for a higher qualification and work with your employer to work towards that. I think the biggest change within an apprenticeship since the levy came in is obviously the endpoint assessment. So previously, you on an apprenticeship, there would be a diploma or a certification included, where the tutor would come in, develop that, but often also just check competencies. So it might become sort of a tick box exercise, which has put people off in the past. Now with the endpoint assessment, it's an external organisation who will come into your organisation to test the employee and learner at the end of the program, which obviously makes it a real positive for both the employer and the employee to realise that they're getting a qualification. It means something, they've learned, they're having to retain information, which should obviously benefit both the employee and the employer. I touched on earlier that you'll be hearing from PLG, who are our partner with our hospitality qualifications. So what we do at Cube about if there is a qualification that maybe we can't deliver over the country, or we have a partner who has specialist knowledge in an area, what we'll do, we'll bring them in to help us support with that delivery. It's working really successfully over a number of different qualifications at the moment, hence the success of PLG, which they're going to now talk to you about.
Thanks, Elliot. Morning, everybody. So my name is Andy Tate. I am the Quality Director for Performance Learning Group. I was supposed to be joined by my colleague, Barry McNamara, this morning as well. Unfortunately, due to some technical issues, I'm going to be taking you through our slide presentation today. So Performance Learning Group, there are 3 of us. We are 3 directors. We all started our careers in hospitality. Sorry, can you go on to the next slide, please, Luke? Brilliant. Thank you very much. So Performance Learning Group started in 2015. We, as I said, started our careers in hospitality. All 3 of us directors started as apprentices ourselves. We are a specialist training provider in hospitality. We predominantly just deliver in that area. And on the right-hand side of the slide, you can see some of the employers we are currently working with. So our programs are designed from the bottom up. We take a apprenticeship standard, construct a delivery scheme from the knowledge, skills and behaviours which make up that standard. We use that as the basis of our delivery scheme. We then go through a process where we take employer internal training programs and we map them into the delivery scheme. allowing for our training to be as fully integrated into the employer's internal training as we can possibly achieve. Learning objectives are then RAG graded based on the internal mapping activities that we've completed. We do this to basically ensure that we recognise areas with high coverage from the internal training and identify opportunities where we are able to bring discussions to life through contextualised teaching and learning opportunities. Assessment practices are designed to then build on these foundations, supporting the apprentice's progression towards their endpoint assessment at the end of the apprenticeship programme. The methods that make up the endpoint assessment are taken into consideration when we are designing these assessment interventions as well. So, for example, if an apprentice goes through an internal training programme which produces some really good evidence, we use that evidence and see if we can use that towards perhaps a portfolio of evidence, or perhaps again providing the basis for a business project idea. It allows the progression of the apprentices to be monitored throughout. It allows the conversation to be brought to life. It allows the programme to be fully contextualised to the employer as much as possible. And once we get to that point, we're then in a position where we're able to roll that curriculum out to the employer. On the screen right now, you can see the PLG collection of apprenticeship standards that we're currently delivering. We deliver the hospitality team member, production chef and commis chef programs at level 2. We deliver the hospitality supervisor, senior production chef and chef de partie at level 3, and then the hospitality manager at level 4. Through the partnership that PLG and Cube have formed over the last year, 18 months or so, we've designed a Step to Success program or pathway which supports job seekers and employers at whatever stage of their career they find themselves in, whether that be at the pre-employment stage, looking to find the right role for them, or whether to develop their skills and knowledge to progress to the next point in their career, as Elliot mentioned earlier. Here's a very brief overview of one of our programs. I'll take you through a handful of examples throughout the course of this presentation. On the screen at the moment, on the right-hand side, you can see a top-level overview of the production chef pathway. This particular program is typically aligned to chefs that are new to the industry, branded restaurants, large production kitchens, and contract catering venues. The Hospitality Supervisor program is for those individuals who are looking for their first steps into management. It's typically aimed at people with their first management or supervisory role within the hospitality sector. It covers food and beverage pathways, bar supervision pathways, housekeeping, concierge, front office supervisors, event supervisors, and hospitality outlet supervisors. The Level 4 program, the Hospitality Manager, is aimed at those individuals that have progressed off the back of being a supervisor and are now in a management role. It looks for the first steps of a manager taking on some autonomy within the business, and this particular pathway can be aligned to food and beverage manager roles, housekeeping roles, front office manager roles, conference and events manager roles, kitchen manager, and also multifunctional manager. So for those individuals that are working in hotels or perhaps have responsibility across both front and back of house within a restaurant, this program can cover multi areas within a hospitality business. PLG visits typically constitute a number of different delivery options. We predominantly work on a face-to-face model. However, in the current climate, we've changed and transitioned to allow a lot of our delivery to take place remotely. We use systems like Zoom through Microsoft Teams. We use an online virtual learning environment called Canvas, which allows us to facilitate our teaching and learning and also our assessment processes wherever you may be in the country and at whatever time of day as well. So it really is a 24/7 program. Our platforms are available whenever you should need them. We know that shift patterns and things like that within hospitality can be a bit up and down, and they change depending on peaks and troughs within the business and the sector. So we've developed a model that will allow you to have access to your teaching and learning when it's convenient for you. In addition to that, I mentioned earlier around the integration of employers' internal training programs. We use that alongside our own off-the-job training offer, which supplements the teaching and learning that takes place, and again allows us to design a program that's fully flexible and bespoke and specific to the employers that we're working with.
That's great, Andy. Thank you for the overview. Andy, feel free when we're going through the benefits of apprenticeships and those parts to pop in with anything you want to add.
No problem, Elliot. Thank you.
So here we're going to look at some of the benefits of an apprenticeship. So productivity. There's some clear facts. There's one there. So 86% of employers report an increase in productivity and better quality of service with a staff member who was on an apprenticeship. It gives that person not only sort of new knowledge, but that sort of sense of worth within the company that they're being invested in, which obviously happy employee, happy worker. Staff retention. If you seem to be giving somebody that opportunity, again, these all linked sort of to development and retention. But if you're seen to be giving that opportunity to somebody, you're going to obviously see them sort of becoming loyal to you, wanting to work for you, not looking elsewhere where they might have previously. And there's a little fact there that 70% of apprentices remained with their employer for 20 months after apprenticeship, compared to 58% for non-apprentices, which I think is a really strong fact. Upskilling as well. I think obviously with an apprenticeship being work-based, you need to be exposed to elements of work, but you might not quite be in that role full time, but you might be sort of being prepared if there is any gaps that appear within the organisation where you might be able to have a promotion. You can go on an apprenticeship and be exposed to those learnings and develop yourself before a role comes in. So from an employer's point of view, you can have a ready-made replacement if somebody was to move on or a new opportunity arised. Recruitment. So there's two sides of recruitment. I think I touched on it earlier that actually having an apprentice on program and the retention can save obviously recruitment costs, but also from employing an apprentice from scratch can be a lot more attractive. So giving somebody an opportunity to engage into a qualification as soon as they enter employment with you, it can be a real benefit. And from 83% of employees who have recommended apprenticeships to other companies. At the moment with recruitment as well, there is the government incentives. So anybody who starts an apprenticeship from the 1st of August this year up until the end of January, and they haven't worked for your company in the previous 6 months, and they go on to an apprenticeship, are entitled to a government incentive. So if you're a 16 to 18-year-old, it's £3,000. That is the standard £1,000 incentive for 16 to 18-year-old plus an extra £2,000. If you're 19 to 24, it's £2,000, and if you're 25 plus, it's £1,500. All these incentives can be claimed through what we call your AS account, which is a government gateway where your apprenticeship funding will sit. For the next stage, I'm going to look at the 3 different methods of funding an apprenticeship. So you've probably heard levy payer and non-levy payer banded around quite a lot with apprenticeships. So a non-levy payer is somebody whose wage bill across the country is under £3 million. So if you're a non-levy payer, we have a government contract which can fund the qualification up to 95%, but the remaining 5% will be expected to pay by the employer. Something that's being utilised by non-levy organisations, often SMEs, is a levy transfer system. So employers who don't spend their levy or want to donate some of their levy can send that to other companies. This might be somebody in a supply chain. It might be somebody who wants to support a charity. It might be somebody who wants to support a care organisation in a time like this. So they're able to transfer 25% of their levy pot. So what this can do there, this can take away the 5% charge. We actually work with a number of large companies who will donate to our SMEs. So there's the relationships there for us to look at levy transfer, and also lots of local councils and combined authorities offer the levy transfer option. The most popular way to fund an apprenticeship is through an apprenticeship levy from a company. So a company who has a wage bill of over £3 million will pay monthly into their levy account. That money that's paid into the levy account can only be spent on apprenticeships. So if you're unaware of this, we can obviously help you, but I'm sure your finance director will know all about it. So we've touched on the hospitality qualifications that are available through PLG with us. Obviously, there is other qualifications within the hospitality industry that we deliver that could be utilised. I won't read them all out there, but this webinar will be shared at the end in the slides, and you'll be able to have a look at the qualifications that we offer. This is constantly changing with the release of new qualifications, so this is continuously updated. And again, similar to PLG, if there's a qualification on here that we don't offer, we will have a partner who will be able to deliver it. If not, we can help you, support you in finding one. So additional support which comes with working with Cube as a provider. So each account we work with will have a dedicated account manager. They can help with things like your strategy, working out who will be going on apprenticeships, why, what the benefits will be. They'll also, once an employer partakes in the apprenticeship program and has learners on program, they will report on the progress. That often happens on a monthly basis. In the old world, it would hopefully be a face-to-face meeting, but obviously at the moment a lot of it is done on Teams and through an electronic visit report that we send over. We can support with any new initiatives that you might have. So if you decide you want to start employing 16 to 18-year-old apprentices, for example, we can help you set that up and link you with our recruitment team to do that. We also have a really successful marketing support team. So our marketing team is there to support you as employers. So you'll see a couple of examples on the front page there that we actually brand all of our materials individually for each company. And this can be a variety of things. It might just be a roadmap of the qualification, or as you see there, a complete mentor handbook designed and dedicated to you. Not happening so often at the moment are our engagement days. A lot of these, I've said, happening over Zoom and Skype at the moment, but previously today you can see a couple of our employees, Adam and Gail, who are out at different sites talking to people about qualifications. So something that's really important for us is giving you that upfront knowledge and making sure before somebody goes on a qualification, everybody's prepared and knows what they're entering into. At Cube, we think that celebrated successes are really important to not just us or the employer, but to the employee. Gives it again that sense of worth when they've achieved something. You'll see it later on that we have an annual awards which our employers and apprentices are invited to on a yearly basis. It's an event hosted by Colin Jackson where we gather in a location in London to celebrate the success of our employers and our learners. But on a monthly basis, we release press releases, we do case studies, we have the monthly student employer of the months, we support with writing applications to awards. Notably, last year one of our employers actually made it to the finals of the National Apprenticeship Awards, which is a great achievement. And we also support with internal celebrations. So if you wanted to do an event to support celebrating success of your apprenticeships, we can help at that. We often donate prizes to those people, and if you're really lucky, our CEO turns up to hand out these certificates. So you'll see on the screen some pictures from our last awards ceremony. Unfortunately, we were unable to hold the event this year due to the pandemic, but we did hold a virtual awards, which weren't quite the same, but were really successful, and Apple employers really got the benefit out of it still. And for any of your sporting fans there, you'll see Colin Jackson, who's a real advocate of Cuban apprenticeships. Thank you for listening, guys, and I'd like to sort of open the floor up to any questions for myself or Andy. Thank you.
Yep, we've had a few questions come in during the webinar. The first one: do apprentices have to be aged 16 to 24 when they start the apprenticeship?
No, so apprentices are for any ages above 16. We've actually recently had an apprentice from an NHS trust join us who was in his 60s on a facilities management qualification. He'd been in the role as an operative for many years, but gone into a supervisory role, and then went on to the level 3 facilities management qualification. So yeah, the answer is they're open to everybody, any ages.
Right, excellent. The second question: my employer says that I can't do an apprenticeship as they're not an apprenticeship levy payer. Is this true?
No. So we have funding for what we call SMEs and micros. So our government contract can fund those qualifications. The employer will be expected in most cases to spend 5% of that funding band, or in other cases we can look at the levy transfer route, which would mean the qualification was free of charge and fully funded.
Excellent. And final question: a member of my team has years of experience in a commercial kitchen but no industry qualifications to enable them to progress. Can I use an apprenticeship to upskill them?
Andy, would you like to answer that one?
Sure. So the answer is an apprenticeship is ideally aligned where there is significant learning that takes place. And I think from my experience, when we sit down and we look at the actual scope of the apprenticeship standards, there's often, in addition to what they already know, some significant learning that takes place in order for them to be able to meet that standard as well. So the answer is yes, but it would really depend on the experience, the training needs analysis that's undertaken at the beginning of the program, and then finding the right program that's suitable and aligned to their job role as well.
Okay, excellent. That's all the questions.
Brilliant. Thanks, guys. We do have a couple more webinars coming up, guys, on different qualifications. So this afternoon, actually at 3 o'clock, we have one for leadership and management. And next Tuesday, the 10th of November, we have one which is specially designed for mentoring. So if you'd like to join those, please register in the same way as you did today. Thanks for listening, and any questions, please pop them in the box. But the webinar and recording will be sent out to everybody. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Elliot.
Thanks, Andy.